Algoa Country, I can't contain my excitement now with more than 15 years since the release of his latest full R&B and pop album. Multi-award winning South African singer and songwriter Loyiso Bala returns to the genre that first defined his career with a brand new single, That R&B. The song marks the first ahead of a full-length R&B album scheduled for later this year. Algoa Country, I'm over the moon as I mentioned earlier. Please welcome Loyiso Bala to the Friday Music Club. Loyiso!
Thank you so much, KayCee. Really lovely to be here. It's actually my first time at these studios because the last time I think we were all together, or the last time I got into studio was at the boardwalk, the old boardwalk.
Yes,
back then. So it's lovely to be here, and the aircon is lovely as well.
I'm sure the team rolled out the red carpet for you, hey?
Yes, no, they did, yeah. And they did that whole sort of singing thing when one comes in. So I really appreciated that. Thank you.
Excellent. Now, that R&B feels like a statement, not just a song. What did you want this track to announce about where you are musically right now?
So I see that R&B as it being the first single of my upcoming album, which is going to be released later this year. And it had been a while since I last released a full-length album. Albums now are like even 6 tracks. So, it had been a while, and so I thought I want to get a little bit of that old school, mixed together with what's happening right now in R&B and pop, bring that together just so that some people can sort of remember my voice. I know along the way there's been many Loyisos, and so it's just to establish exactly which one this sort of was. But that's what it is. And the wonderful thing is that, even today, 15 years later, my music still enjoys a lot of play on the radio. So thank you so much, Algoa Country, for that. And so this is me kind of saying, look, I'm back on the scene again. I've got some new music, and not because I necessarily had the time, but it's because there really has just been that demand that's just been growing year on year. So here I am.
The title, That R&B, is bold and almost defiant. What does real R&B mean to you in 2026, especially coming from a South African perspective?
Yeah. So many things have changed. Many ways that people date today have changed. I mean, there's online dating, the styles have changed, but I really think that, the fundamentals of romance are still the same. My wife will still say, I still appreciate, we may be married for 15 years actually this year.
Wow.
And she said to me that I still appreciate you buying me flowers. I still appreciate, a good dinner. And there are certain fundamentals about romance that haven't changed, that even our great-grandfathers used to also do. And so for me, when we speak about R&B, it's about keeping those fundamentals, but then obviously making sure that what we communicate is understandable to any generation that's around today.
Chivalry ain't dead.
It ain't dead, bro.
Was this track written specifically as the lead into the album, or did it later become the moment where you realized this is the sound of the project?
So this is the, I wouldn't say it's the sound of the project, especially when the project's going to have about 10 tracks on it, but it was the best way that I could introduce the project. I've got another song that's actually, they just finished mixing it now, and it's going to be out in the next 2-3 months or so. And that one is definitely way more contemporary if we talk about what's happening in the pop scene right now. So like if you look at Afro beats and what that is about. So this one was just an introduction, because some of the times you need to give people a little bit of a taste of what they're used to, and then obviously something new, and then from here onwards it's going to be definitely a new sound that I believe that a lot of the audiences wouldn't have necessarily have put it together with with the kind of style or who I am or who they know me to be. But Loyiso has changed and he has evolved over the years, so I thought before I introduced that full revolution, let me at least take a little bit from the past and a little bit from now, and then that's how we started with that R&B.
You've evolved, but however, your voice still carries a lot of nostalgia. The production feels modern. I had to listen to the track earlier as well. How intentional was the balance between old school soul and contemporary R&B?
It was very intentional. I actually have worked with the same producer for the past, I don't know how long I've been in the industry now, probably like for the past 20 years, Crichton Goodwill. And actually Crichton and I are childhood friends. So from the time that we were 13 years old, we actually worked together. And then as we grew together, Crichton then went into production, I went into performance, and until today, we're still, kind of working together. So these are people who've walked the journey journey with me. They themselves have revolved over the years, but I guess, we've never really quite lost the basics and the foundation of what made us who we are today.
Absolutely. There's always a source where the creativity flows from. What part of yourself, or emotionally or creatively did you tap into when writing that R&B that listeners maybe, haven't heard from you before?
Yeah, so I think maybe I want to just start clearing this up, that R&B wasn't just me, but there were, there's also another writer as well, who was a part of that. But definitely, for the performance of it, and obviously in telling the story, this is not just about my life. Do you know what I mean? Where I draw inspiration from is that I draw inspiration not only from, from myself or from what I know, what used to inspire me back then, but I think there's been such great music that's coming out now these days that have inspired me, so that I can make sure that my music connects, to the audiences today. Even your listening has evolved over the years. So some of the times we'll always be like, we need to do that old school stuff because people still love that. Yes, old school is good for people who did it during the old school times. But we've got new artists now, that we love. We've got a new sound that we love, and so I've really been inspired by just where pop has been going, where R&B has been going over the years. I know I kind of alluded to this earlier on, but like if you look at the likes of your Mananas, of your Loyisos, you look at what's happening in the Afrobeat scene, in the Mapiano scene, and when I dance to that stuff, I don't dance to it to try and get inspiration. It's because that's the stuff that I love now. And so and also my daughter as well. I mean, my daughter, when she was much younger, I used to play the music, but now she's the one who says, "Dad, have you heard this?" I'm like, "Who's that?" And so so I just kind of draw inspiration from just whatever's happening right now, but then also digging into my Drakensberg and my knowledge of music from back then.
Well, you've been in the industry for decades. How has your relationship with R&B changed since your earlier career, and how is that growth reflected on this new album of yours?
I'm going to say that, R&B was my first love. Not as a musician, but I guess as someone who used to consume the genre. R&B came at a time when I started, in my puberty days. so when everything was like beginning to wake up, R&B was the soundtrack. So from anyone, if you think of the 90s, there's one thing that always comes to mind, and it's 90s R&B. And I believe that 90s R&B, it influenced, a lot of us through the years. R&B has obviously changed. I believe that when we came in with the likes of Danny K, with the likes of your TKs, we changed the trajectory of R&B, especially in South Africa, and actually kind of gave it an identity. And so many other artists have come after that to then take it, forward. But like I said in the very beginning, that R&B still hits. When it's R&B, it's because it hits that same spot. That same spot still wants to be fed, with that beautiful melodies and so on. But obviously the sound of it has fundamentally changed over the years, because music has changed, and obviously people have also evolved as well.
What I respect about you, many years ago, I was at a function you performed over there. We had issues with the sound quality, and you carried on like nothing's happening. And, for me, that is so professional at the end of the day. And you pulled it off, of course. Let's get back to the song. If that R&B is the doorway into the album, what kind of journey are you inviting listeners on with the full project?
The full project is definitely going to be a journey, and I believe that it's going to show the different angles of who I am, not only just my skill as well, but I guess it's going to tap into every single possible. Obviously, I can't do it all, in 10 tracks.
Yes.
Sort of experience that people have when it comes to relationships. I've got songs there that are in Xhosa. I've got songs that are mixed. I've got some Afro soul. Obviously, I've got some R&B. I've got some strong pop. I've also been working with producers as well, in Cape Town, because that is where a lot of my music started making it big, songs like Jeeps, Give Me the Night. And so for me, it is all that bag, but I believe that my my sound is there throughout. I've always done albums like that anyway. So it's really that exploration. And I think right at the end of the album, once someone has listened to it, they'll be going, okay, cool, I get it. This was a great album. I know that we live in a time of singles, but some of us still love to do albums because not everybody, like watches T20. Some people like the 5-day cricket. And so you need to produce something like that, when it comes to an album.
For what it's worth, Jeeps is still part of my DJ sets.
Thank you.
Loyiso, before I let you go, how can we get hold of your music? Is it available on all streaming platforms, etc.?
Yes, it is. My music is available on all streaming platforms, and that R&B is actually available on all streaming platforms as well. You'll just write Loyiso, that R&B, and it should pop up. And I also have what they call a visualizer these days. Let me school you. So a visualizer is like a music video that's not for broadcast, but it's perfect for YouTube. And so if you go onto YouTube, you can definitely get the visualizer where you can see me sort of sing the song, that R&B.
Fantastic. What a pleasure having you with us on the Friday Music Club this afternoon. I'm honored. I'm over the moon. I'm speechless.
No, thank you so much. And thank you so much as well to Algoa for your support, and also to Algoa country as well for the demand for my music. I love you guys and appreciate you a lot.
And we love you, Algoa country. Without any further ado, Loyiso Bala with That R&B. Thank you so much for joining us.